Hello and welcome back to Automotive Logistics and Supply Chain Europe Live. I'm Logan, Senior Content Producer here at Automotive Logistics and Ultima Media. Thank you so much for joining me. The automotive industry is no stranger to risk, but with so much disruption and increased volatility in the market these days, do the systems and methodologies in place mitigate those risks? Need a rethink? Joining me today, I have three specialists who know all too well about the importance of business continuity in the automotive sector, and we'll spend the next 45 minutes exploring new risk management models, the latest technology, and exactly what it takes to keep the production lines rolling in these challenging times. I'd like to bring on my first guest and welcome to the stage Jian Huang, Global Head of Corporate Supply Chain Risk Management at HELLA. Welcome, Jian.
Hi, Rich.
Jian, great to have you here. As we've been talking about offline, you're on an exciting journey with HELLA in terms of risk management. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to hand straight over to you and let you share some insights as to what you've been working on and your strategies and plans ahead. So over to you.
Yeah, thank you, Rich. Thanks for your great introduction. Yes, indeed, as HELLA, as a tier 1 supplier and global company, we established a supply chain risk management organization with different approaches, methods, and processes. And in today's session, I just want to show you some key points, some key elements of our strategy and process. And I hope that we can have a very good discussion. So the next slide will give you some key figures. I'm not going to detail, but to have you an impression what kind of company HELLA is. So we are a worldwide company, and with 6 billion turnover last year. And our key product is the lighting on the one hand, and so the lighting for the cars, the headlamps, rear lamps, and interior lamps. And on the other hand, the big portion of our turnover is electronics. So you cannot see that if you sit in a car, but they control the car and make the car running automatically. So basically, that's our portfolio. And as I said, we are global. We have global setup with a worldwide footprint. So this slide will give you a brief understanding how our organization, supply chain risk management, is embedded in our global headquarter organization. So basically, we focus not only reactive risk management, which you can see the critical path management, meaning that we are running the task force, we are running the different firefighting activities because we have a lot of risks right now. And on the other hand, we also spend a lot of time on the preventive supply chain risk management, which you can see on the right side, the supply chain risk management organization. So I'm leading this organization, and together we build up the critical parts and supply chain risk management, which has a direct reporting line to our HELLA board management. And very important to say that we are working with our internal and external stakeholders together very closely, from our tier N suppliers to our end customer. But of course, we work internally, cross-functional, with all our relevant stakeholders in the purchasing, manufacturing, and development department, sales, and the logistics department. And also, we have a very close interface to our corporate risk management, which is also a central function of the HELLA board organization. And we have a dedicated responsibility and a process share with our colleagues in the corporate risk management, and to determine what kind of risk we are going to mitigate and who is responsible for what kind of functions. Yeah? So this is basically the organizational setup. And of course, we have our clear vision and mission. And so basically, we don't need to be a additional paperwork creator. We want to create values for all our divisions, for our stakeholders. And our ultimate target is just to make our supply chain, the end-to-end supply chain, resilient, which is very demanding, and it's because our supply chain is very complex in the automotive industry. We have a lot of risks across our supply chain, and we want to make sure that the supply chain will meet the three main targets. Yeah, the supply chain target, the on time, in full, and without defects. So the quality, time, and quantity. Why are we talking about the risk apart from the pandemic, which we have, and also additionally the global semiconductor crisis, which we're experiencing, especially in the automotive industry? Since our supply chain is very complex from one continent to another, and we say that the probability that a risk will occur in our supply chain, our end-to-end supply chain, is almost 100% per year. So because we have a very complex supply chain, including a lot of lanes, the transport, because we have experts from the transport industry, and of course we have financial risks, we have environmental risks, disaster in different countries. So all to sum it together, we see that the risk will occur is almost 100%. So basically, and this is also the end-to-end supply chain risk management, and I want to highlight that we are not focusing only on the supplier side, because a lot of people understand that supply chain risk management is only the supply-related risks. Of course, supply is very important as our key material providers. Yeah, we have INEOS 2018 back 3 years ago, and the force majeure at our TN suppliers, because it's a raw material supplier with whom we don't have a direct business relationship. And of course, the natural disasters in Asia, and there we have a lot of electronic component suppliers. And that fire, which you saw just previous slide, that was a real example that we had a fire in Thailand at our tier 1 supplier, which caused a lot of problem to our supply chain. And of course, internally, we also have lots of different topics which could result a bottleneck in the supply chain, because the planning for the launch management, because of the planning of the parameters, the lead times, and for the change management. If this is not planned correctly in advance, then we will go into the risk automatically in the future. And also, if we look at the customer side, and more and more customers are demanding the continuous business continuity management, the holistic strategy, and we have to prove that we are in the condition to run this kind of program. And you can see the Suez Canal blockage. This is also the transport-related topic, but the COVID also, it's across all the different stakeholders, from suppliers to our customers. So this is basically our real supply chain mapping. So we used a very intelligent platform to be able to have full transparency of our end-to-end supply chain. And we want to move into this direction, supply chain risk management 4.0. We see a lot of buzzwords, just in time, digitalization, product lifecycle. And this topic is also related to the industry 4.0. Basically, the key features of the Scrm 4.0 is, you can see on the right side, the end-to-end process within a supply chain, and the methodology, how to define and identify and calculate the risk, the cross-functional collaboration within the organization, but also outside of the organization. And of course, the most important thing is to use the advanced technology, the communication technology, information technology, to be able to run the supply chain risk management in the most efficient way. Yeah, so this is basically very a brief of our landscape in our supply chain risk management within HELLA. And I want to close my statement, my presentation with the quote, "Time to repair the roof is when the sun is shining," because the risk management is very abstract, and we need to focus on this topic even we are not in the pandemic mode, or even we don't have any crisis, but we still have to drive this topic within the organization, because if it's raining, meaning that we are experiencing a lot of risks, it's very unlikely that the organization has resources, has time to focus on this topic. So let's say that if the sun is shining, then we still have to run the topic systematically and with all our stakeholders to run this program. So basically, this is my presentation.
Great, thanks, Jian. Really interesting, really insightful there to see what you've been developing, and clearly there's a lot more behind that you've been putting in over the past 4 years, I believe, into this this setup. Just how much more complex is this risk management strategy compared to more traditional models that we're seeing in the automotive industry?
I think since the supply chain is cross-functional in a silo thinking way in the company, we won't have success to run this program. So I think the biggest challenge is always the people. You have to get the top management commitment. You have to run the program with all relevant stakeholders, which is part of the supply chain, to get a common understanding of the topic and to let the people run the program and together. And I think this is the most complex topic. And also you have to work with external stakeholders, meaning the suppliers and customers. So I think because each function has a different interest and a different target setting, but the risk in the supply chain is relevant for different functions, and we have to run this program in a collaborative way. So this is, I think, for the automotive, because we have a very complex supply chain, and from raw material supplier to the end customer worldwide, and the supply chain is very vulnerable. So, that's the reason it's very challenging to get people understand the topic and to run this with the help of the advanced technology.
Yeah, absolutely. And this new model and approach of supply chain risk management heightens the focus on internal as well as external factors, as your presentation clearly showed. How has and how will this strategy impact HELLA's organizational structure and the internal dynamics? How do you manage potential conflicts of KPIs, conflicts of interests across different business units?
Yeah, that's a very good question. Since different functions have different target setting, and we managed to implement a cross-functional supply chain risk management board, which consists of different functions: purchasing, sales, manufacturing, quality, and business process management. And this decision round has absolutely the highest decision round, decision to make any decisions on different approaches. If we have target setting conflict, then this has to be addressed and to be decided in this round in order to have the common approach, because it doesn't work that each function is working on its own target, and finally we will have a lot of conflict within the organization. So I think one decision board make the decision, and we cross-functional, and then we with the decision we can run different programs within the organization.
Absolutely, and obviously bringing in like the creation of a new board and bringing in different departments, different business units. This is a significant investment in terms of time and resource. Are you able to put a figure or percentage on how much more resilient and robust this strategy will or is making your supply chain?
Also, very good question. It's very hard to measure different kind of actions in the risk management into figures because the risk is always combined with probability, and we don't know if we don't have this kind of program, what the world would look like. But I'm confident that regarding to this efficiency, regarding to the digitalization, transparency, the visibility in the supply chain, and regarding to the real-time acting, react on different incidents based on the platform. I think we save time, we save a lot of manpower, the manual way to understand our supply chain. I think that's a big improvement and a big step forward. And I cannot tell you in figures, but definitely the performance level is different as maybe 2 or 3 years ago.
Yeah. Okay. Fantastic. No, I was pushing my luck in terms of getting figures there. So, but good to see you moving in the right direction. Certainly. Maybe just one more question before I bring on another guest. What tools are you currently using and implementing to implement this strategy? Are you still looking to connect with innovators, with technology companies and providers to fill some of the gaps?
Yeah, definitely. So we are very open to different solutions on the market since there are a lot of pioneers, a lot of startups, and they focus on different kind of technologies within the supply chain risk management landscape. Currently, we use a common platform created by Everstream Analytics, and of course, we are also try to connect different data sources from all other source data providers to have one platform in order to monitor the risk and to work with different figures, with internal figures, with external figures. And I think it's a long journey to be able to understand which kind of technology will help us in which way. But I think we are also working on this topic, supply chain risk management 4.0. And so I'm very open to new ideas, new technologies, which will help us and bring our maturity level to the next level.
Yeah, excellent, fantastic, and I'm sure that'll be music to our audience's ears. So, and perhaps not your inbox, but great to hear you're open to collaboration and you're still looking to see what's out there. That's great. Jian, thank you so much. We're going to bring you back on later on, but I want to move across and maybe a perfect segue in terms of technology providers and welcome onto the stage Christophe Legrand from Wakeo. Christophe, a global key account manager. Technology provider, Wakeo, based in France. Great to have you here, Christophe.
Hi, Rich. Great to see you.
Great. Thanks so much for joining us. I mean, let's go straight into it, straight off the bat, with such high probabilities of disruption that Jian pointed out there. You'd have to be a brave man to gamble against those, but are you surprised at what you see when it comes to supply chain risk management strategies in automotive? Just how exposed are automotive companies when it comes to supply chain risk, specifically when it comes to the transportation sector where Wakeo specializes?
Yes, indeed. Jian a little bit introduced the subject, but indeed, Wakeo is a platform, SaaS platform specialized on the transport visibility in multimodal basis. And indeed, there is a lot of disruption within the transport these days. We can speak about the Brexit, the commercial wars, the Suez blockage, weathers and climate disruptions, COVID impact also, and shipping line strategy. All of this created, especially for the first quarter of this year, on the sea freight industry, a lot of trouble indeed. One ship on two is delayed with an average of 5 days. Wow. So this is not, this is systemic indeed, as we could say, and the supply chain have to react to this new situation, and especially on the automotive industry, we consider that, of course, every minute counts. So any delay for the inbound flows can stop a production line and represent million euros of potential loss. So just-in-time model may be in danger thanks to this disruption of the transport. So additional stock is a consequence, or last-minute shipment in the air freight is a consequence also to avoid this production stops. Therefore, the goal of Wakeo here is to bring more anticipation, let's say about 8 to 15 days before the previous the ETA plane, which allows the companies and automotive companies to limit their extra cost by air freight if the ship is late more than 2, 3, 4, 5 days.
Right, and maybe you mentioned some of those major disruptions that we felt in Q1 already. Maybe let's have a look at the Suez Canal blockage as an example. With this situation continuously evolving and resolution times unknown whilst it was developing. For example, how often were you communicating with your clients, and how often were you offering alternative resolutions and routes? What I'm getting at is, with an ever-evolving landscape, how does the customer know when is the best time to take action?
Well, indeed, there is two answers here from Wakeo. So first one is real-time visibility. So we provide the information in real time, position of the ship, of the container, and of course the article inside the container. So this is the first step. Yes, can we get a slide? Maybe the slide of the internet platform of Wakeo. Yeah, here is a perfect example of what we are able to propose to our clients. This is the way from a ship from, let's say, Shanghai to Rotterdam, for example, or Antwerp, anyway. And once the Suez Canal were blockaded, most of the shipping lines decide to stop the usual route and to go through the Cape of Good Hope, south of Africa. Typically, this is additional transit time of 9 to 11 days. So this kind of information we're able to provide it once we detect the new route of the ship. And second, you can see here that typically the ship, once the Canal of Suez reopen, it go back to the Canal of Suez to reduce the late delivery. And this, we were also able to detect it on real time and to prevent our clients of this change route, and to push to them a dynamic ETA, which allow them to re-engineer their supply chain and avoid, for example, last-minute shipment in air freight, for example.
Yeah, absolutely. So
this is the first part of the answer. And this is the immediate answer. And on the mid-term basis, we're able to provide some transit time evolutions. And then we see that with different information we're able to get from the shipping lines and from the AIS, which is the satellite information from the ship, we are able to detect in real time the real transit time, and therefore also with some experience with these shipping lines, we're able to detect the exact transit time and not the commercial transit time sold by the shipping lines, which can make a big difference between one point to another. The difference may be 1, 2, 3, 4 days of average different transit time, and therefore this impacts directly the automotive industry and the supply chain.
Yeah, absolutely. So some data playing a crucial role, obviously, there. And you mentioned costs. I mean, such a bottleneck in the supply chain has felt the world over. Can you share some examples of the potential costs incurred or the costs saved by your customers, and how the investment in such a technology can really pay off?
We've got an example with the DND, the demurrage and detention, for example. Well, what we do with Wakeo, we detect the arrival of the ship, the container get in, the container get out from the port and from the ship, which allows us to determine which demurrage and which detention our clients have to pay first. And once this time of detention is over, we're able to push a kind of alert to our client to optimize also the transport of this container from the port to the client. Indeed, with a client like Forestia that we're working with, we save 100,000 euros per year, thanks to the DND control, and thanks to the transit time control, which allows them to reorganize their supply chain and to reduce their stocks, their stock buffers, and also their air freight last-minute shipment.
Wow, so considerable savings there, and I think it's useful to highlight and drill down into some of those exact cost benefits there for our audience. Christophe, in your position, is effective global supply chain risk management possible without the very latest technology, given just how more extreme the supply chain environment and landscape has become?
I'm sorry, do it again, please.
Is the given how much more complex the supply chain landscape has become, not just with COVID, but with all the disruption, market volatility, is it possible to run your successful supply chains and mitigate risk successfully and efficiently without the very latest technology?
Yeah, indeed. The point here is to be aware of the disruption and to get the information in real time. This is a main point, I guess, for us. Once you've got this information, you are able to react. So the technology we're offering here is to aggregate all the information available on the market, the shipping lines information, port, and satellite information. And once you've got the information, you're able to aggregate it and to produce a specific ETA for our clients, thanks to a specific algorithm that we're using, basically. So the technology we're using here, it's important to indeed sublimize the supply chain of our clients.
Okay, great. Thanks, Christophe. And we're gonna come back to you, but I want to bring on my third guest to the panel. So thanks, Christophe, for now, and we'll welcome you back shortly. Ron Glowinsky, Vice President Global Sales, CNW. Great to have you back.
Hi, nice to be here always.
Great, absolute pleasure to have you here, Ron. Ron, perhaps we can get straight into it and start with a bit of an update from your perspective. We've seen large increase in the use of air freight in the last 12 months due to various bottlenecks, not least the pandemic. Can you give us a sense of the volumes you're seeing across the sector right now compared to last year, 6 months ago? And can you maybe give us an outlook what you're predicting for the rest of 2021 in terms of air freight in automotive?
Yeah, you know, there is a say in French that à quelque chose malheur est bon. Like in every bad thing there is also something good. So maybe this pandemic brought us more business, and that's the good thing. But still we would prefer to avoid it. Indeed, so the challenge was that indeed the demand for air freight increased, but the supply of airplanes and airlines that really were available was very limited. So this was a big challenge to find a way to bring the goods while the capacity is still low and not as usual. And here you have to move more charter flights and get some agreements with the airlines to shift some of their passenger aircraft to cargo, and to be very creative, really very creative. So we used much more cargo aircraft and charters. And of course, don't forget, also due to the pandemic, we couldn't move hand carries. So the volumes in general, as I could see it, were at least doubled, but with the prices going high, the turnover almost tripled, because also the prices, once the demand is so high, capacity is, supply is low, price is going high. And that's what we saw up until now. I think that now we see that more and more airlines are coming back. We see more possibilities, more flights. And honestly, hopefully things will get back to normal soon.
Absolutely. And yeah, with those increased rates, no doubt our audience and OEMs, tier suppliers will be keen for a resumption of some sort of normalcy, most definitely. But absolutely, and air freight is obviously playing an integral role across this time. Ron, you work across multiple sectors, including the semiconductor sector, which has quickly become the automotive sector as well. But can you give some insights into this particular disruption? You know, how you've helped and how you've sort of bridged the gap between the two to get them through this challenging time.
Honestly, such a pressure that we felt from our customers, from the semiconductor customers and from the tier one automotive and OEMs, we never faced before. Every shipment became so critical and basically almost saving the world, but saving either the machine down or line down. In many cases, we had to use even helicopters just to bring a shipment and save 2 hours of line down. So in a broader look, we see that indeed the demand of semiconductor was very high from all sectors. I mean, not just automotive, but high tech. As we know, we all work from home, we consume more laptops and more mobile phone and more video, and the chips or the microprocessor were needed in all industries. Since the automotive industry or the plants, the OEM had to close due to the COVID, there were not enough chips allocated to those customers. And then when they reopened and the demand went high, they were a bit back with the supply of chips that were already allocated to the other industries, to the high tech, to the mobile phones. And now we saw a huge pressure to bring chips from the semiconductor companies that manufacture specifically to the automotive industry. And there was a big demand, huge pressure. And in many cases, you know, we were the supplier both of the semiconductor company and the tier one who demanded the chip, and we got the pressure from both sides. Mm. So indeed, and that's the situation up until now. There is not enough chips in the market. The demand is high, and the pressure is high.
Absolutely, the pressure is most certainly high.
And a lot of it is moving on on expedited air freight. But honestly, to tell you the difference on the rate in the when there is not enough in the market, the difference in the rate between the expedited freight and the normal cargo is almost not existing anymore. The prices are got almost similar, and that's why we see also more requests for the expedited freight, because there is almost no difference from the normal the cargo.
Absolutely, and maybe that preempts what was going to be my next question. And in Christophe's slide, he said that technology was enabling better planning, better forecasting, decision making, perhaps avoiding the necessary use of air freight, for example. My question to you is going to be: does this technology pose a threat to the air freight sector, to premium freight, or do you rather see it as the technology as an enabler to support you and your customers?
We definitely see the technology as enabler. I mean, at the end of the day, someone needs to pick up the shipment and put it on the airplane. With all the technology in the world, and someone needs to drive it, and someone needs to fly it, and you need to find a reliable partner who could do it, and technology can give you a visibility, and indeed we have many different tools, advanced tools. But at the end of the day, you need to sit on the shipment and make sure that the shipment is loaded and unloaded and on the right way to the customer on the right time. So in terms of technology, yes, we do have more visibility tools. We have the app that can the customers can see the status of the shipments wherever they are, and 24/7. They can just have a look at their mobile phone and see what's the status of their critical shipment. We have also EDI and connection interface with customers. We interface with airlines. So when they provide the status, the customers can see the status of their shipments. And we are, of course, for more and more visibility, we are pro technology. But at the end of the day, you need to be hands-on and make sure that the shipment gets from point A to point B.
Oh, absolutely, and yeah, I'd like to bring my other guests back onto to the panel as well. And just while they're rejoining, I'll remind our audience: please do put your questions in. I haven't been great at it so far, but I will try and get to them as and when they're coming in. So I do promise that. So yeah, don't be shy, don't hold back. We've got our expert panel here to get stuck into your questions. Welcome back, Jian. Welcome back, Christophe. Let's, with you all on the panel, maybe this is a perfect question for you, Jian. How does your strategy factor in variances at a partner level? So, for instance, a shipping line ability to deliver or a truck's capability to complete their leg of the journey on time and uninhibited. With so much volatility and disruption, whether it be border closures, blockages, customs, weather, etc.
Yeah, basically it's all about the visibility, the transparency in the supply chain. So no matter with which company, transport company we are collaborating, it's a key to have a reliable ETA date announced and based on the advanced technology. And there are a lot of ways to predict the arrival time, and of course based on all different data, which will be consolidated in one platform. We will be able to measure the delivery performance from different transport companies, and I think also there will be a strategy to decide with which company we should work close together. So that's from our from HELLA point of view, as a customer, but I think also there will be a benefit for the transport company, no matter you are specialized in emergency transport or on usual transport, because if you have the transparency in the supply chain, it's easier. It's very likely that you can react on different unexpected incidents earlier than previously, and I think it's also a improvement of the efficiency that finally counts as a good partner for the customer.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks, Jian. And Christophe, maybe I'll jump to you. And something I'm trying to get my head around is technology enabling supply chains to become more complex, or is it more of a case that technology is keeping pace with the increasing complexity of supply chains?
And Rich, I don't know if the supply chain is more complex. What I know is that the transport is less reliable than months ago. So we have to work on it, essentially. And I will join Jian about the visibility. This is most now. And to predict an ETA, to optimize the supply chain is a must-have.
Yeah, absolutely. Fantastic. Thank you. And just where we're running quite short on time, just a few minutes to go. So maybe I can just throw this one out there. With growing dependence on technology to mitigate risk and run supply chains, does this make cybersecurity a more important factor for organizations? We've already seen in the last 12 months some very high-profile cybersecurity breaches. What does this mean in terms of supply chain risk with new technology that we're developing at pace? I'll throw that out to the floor.
So let me start. The cybersecurity, maybe 2 years or 3 years ago, nobody has put any relationship between the cybersecurity and the supply chain risk management. And indeed, in the past several years, we experienced different cyber attacks at the supplier side or the shipper, the transport company, logistic service providers, even at our location. And today we are all connected with electronic data interface. And if the cybersecurity, if a cyber attack takes place, then we are all sitting in the same boat. Yeah, supply cannot deliver the raw material, we cannot produce any parts, and the customer will receive any finished goods. So I think this topic, based also on different reports from 2020, the cybersecurity will play a key role in the coming years. And I think we have to consider the cybersecurity definitely as one of the top risks, and to think about what kind of business continuity plan I have to implement, what kind of contingency plan I have to implement, of course, to think ahead which kind of preventive risk mitigation actions I can establish in advance.
Yeah, fantastic. And right, we're into the last couple of minutes, so I just want to get some final thoughts and comments, and I'll go to you, Ron, for key takeaway for our audience from your perspective.
The solution doesn't have to be always to bring more inventory. You can also rely on expedited air freight and reduce the level of inventories, and think smart, out of the box. There are solutions outside, and you need to find the right solution. But I liked what Jian said before, prepare the roof in the summer. And that, I think that's a key message. And of course, if we're talking about cyber and technology, this is the kind of threats we can prepare for, and we know that they are existing. Like nobody expected COVID to come, but we know that fires and storms and snow and weather issues, they are coming, and technology as well. So we have to at least to prepare to what we can expect, not what we cannot expect.
Absolutely, a good final message to leave things on there. And Christophe, from your perspective, what can we see from Wakeo coming up in the next few years that we haven't maybe touched upon today?
Yeah. A part of the risk of tomorrow, in my opinion, will be the CO2 consumption. Then we launched a new module recently with Wakeo. Okay, the point here is to measure, control your CO2 production within the transport. And the point here is to improve the best route and the best energetic efficiency once you use an air freight or a ship or a truck. It will be, in my opinion, for tomorrow, a main point for the supply chain to be more green and to use technology to do so.
Absolutely, and that's a key theme running throughout this conference in the industry right now. So I think you've hit the nail on the head. And Jian, I'll push my luck in terms of just getting a 30-second comment from you. How can we get more automotive companies addressing global supply chain risk management the way that Hella is doing? What's the key message that you want to share?
Mm-hmm. I think the automotive industry, the most biggest challenge is the data sharing. Because if you have all the data, you will have the visibility. If we can get all different stakeholders on one table and to share different data and to integrate and to have the visibility in the supply chain, I think that will be a big step move forward because that's the key condition to run any advanced programs. And data is the key. The good data is the key, and the collaboration within the automotive industry from supplier with the customer, that's will be the key.
Absolutely, fantastic point to end on. Collaboration key and data important too. Thank you so much, gentlemen. It's been an absolute pleasure. I'm sorry we haven't got more time, but there's plenty more to follow up, both individually, and do take the time to connect with our audience throughout the coming days as well. We'll take a short break where I'll be handing back over control to Christopher Ludwig to host our final session of the day, where we'll be unearthing the latest intelligence and developments of the global semiconductor shortage, another must-watch session. Thanks again, and we'll see you back shortly in about 10 minutes.